Okay, we're going to start this one the same way we started the rest. Or at least the last one. You don't have to answer this, but I am going to ask it anyway. What do you see? Right? What do you see? It's the same question, which for many people will have the same answer it had when I asked about this. Okay? When you look at this, your eyes should be lighting up when you see squared terms with the number 1. Okay? Now, if you look at this, your algebraic mind, right? The mind of a freshman, I'm not trying to down talk you. I know how we all feel about freshmen. Okay? The mind of a freshman might look at this and think, I'm going to FOIL this. But that's not a good idea right now. Okay? Could it work? It could work. We could make that work, but that's really not a good idea. Okay? Instead, the mind of a pre-calculus student who's been doing analytical, this is called analytical trigonometry, the mind of a pre-calculus student who's been doing analytical trigonometry for the last 2 weeks would look at this and see squared terms with the number 1. Right? So, first of all, I'm not even going to write this one down. I'm just going to say, what's this? Right? We just had that. Tangent squared plus 1 doesn't need any manipulation. I can substitute a secant squared in for that. Should I? I don't know. Maybe. Let's try it. It's pretty obvious. I don't want to make any assumptions when I say it's pretty obvious, but I mean, tangent squared plus 1. I guess I'm just going to put secant squared because that's one of those Pythagorean identities I've seen before. Cosine squared x minus 1. We're going to the margin. If you're like, oh yeah, that's secant, or that's sine x. Slow it down for a second. Sine squared x plus cosine squared x equals 1. We want a statement that says cosine squared x minus 1. That's what's in this proof. We want that. Well, if I wanted to say cosine squared x minus 1, I'm going to subtract the 1 over. So I get part of that, right? But this is now 0, because 1 minus 1 is 0. I want the statement to just say cosine squared x minus 1 equals. Just that. And if I want just that, that can't be there. Right? So we subtract that to the other side. And 0 minus sine squared x is negative sine squared x. So this statement, which is in the problem that we're doing, is going to get replaced with that. So we come back. Now, I think I've done something correctly at this point. We always want to kind of self-correct and self-assess in the middle of these problems, right? I think I've done something well because I have a negative and that has a negative. So I think I've done something correctly. I've also gone from 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4, to 2, which is also a victory on the way to getting 1 term. And now I have tangent, I have sine, and I have secant. But having done all of the problems in the past, I know that tangent can be sine squared over cosine squared. I've already got a negative sine squared, so I'm going to write it like this. Now this isn't in the, well, this is in the toolbox, I suppose. What am I doing? Writing everything in terms of sine and cosine? Let's get it all speaking the same language here. Secant is 1 over cosine. Now we haven't done this yet. Go ahead and write that down. I'll give you 10 seconds. Okay. We haven't done this yet, but, and I kind of slid this in there real smooth like. I started working over here too. So I've altered a little bit both sides, which is fine. We're allowed to do that. If it helps us see our target more clearly compared to what we have over here, we're allowed to do that. Okay? There's only one thing we're not allowed to do, and I don't even want to say it yet until we get to it. So now what? There's no cross-canceling happening here. I'm just going to multiply my fractions together and get negative sine squared x over cosine squared x, which is what this is. Check mark. If you're wondering, as some of you may be wondering, like, why'd you put the negative up there? Why isn't it here? And if it's there, is that the same as if it's up here? Yes. Right? And what I would say is, this is the same as this, which is the same as this. That negative can travel in a fraction. It's not going to alter it. I can move it wherever I want to move it to. All right?